In our first story, the National Petroleum Authority says it's awaiting the green light to enforce a directive from President Akufo-Addo freezing the implementation of the price stabilization and recovery levies on petrol, diesel and LPG for 2 months. The Ministry of Energy and Finance are expected to quicken the legislative processes to give immediate effect to the directive amid escalating oil prices on the international market. Mohammed Abdul Kudus is Head of Communications at the Corporate Affairs Division of the NPA.
Statement rightly put it. There's supposed to be a certain process so we can have the effect actually felt at the pump. As you are aware, it is something that Parliament will also have to have a review and okay the promise that has actually been made by government. This is an intention that government has expressed to all of us. I believe the delight goes to everybody across the consuming sphere, including myself and yourself. We only will do the implementation when the communication is finally sent to us that it has actually been reviewed. As we speak, the communication has not come to us that it has been okayed for us to really take it out of the equation in the price buildup. So when the determination is made, we would actually feature that. And as you know, the pricing window is twice a month, the 1st to 15th, which has already been determined. So if we have the communication given to us, hopefully before close of 15th, the second window of pricing from 16th of this month, we probably should be able to have a feel of it at the pump. If we are minded by our mandate, we implement what is actually given to us. The determination of what should be slapped on the price buildup is not within our remit. So we only implement what is communicated. Government has expressed the intention. We're hoping that the processes will be completed, so we just can't implement it.
Meanwhile, the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers has lauded the removal of the price stabilization and recovery levies for 2 months as a good start. However, Executive Secretary Duncan Amwa says in the long term, government must reduce overbearing taxes in the price build-up to mitigate impact of rising oil prices on consumers.
This is a welcoming development. We've been asking for the price stabilization and recovery levy to be removed all this while. The only downside is the NPA failing to indicate when this reduction is taking effect. We were expecting that it was going to be a communique directing the various oil marketing companies to immediately, with effect from today, reduce the stabilization and recovery levy. Being that as it may, we still feel that Mr. President would need to also look at the Finance Ministry and look at the pricing build-up completely or thoroughly. You are getting into a season where prices are simply going to go up again and again and again. The 14 to 16 pesos reduction could only suffice for the very last increment we have seen, which was just the past 6-7 days when we saw pump prices go up by between 12 and 14 pesos. And so if you just left it to only price stabilization and recovery levy reduction, we'll be back to the same squares in no time at all, because prices are going to go up again in the next 6 to 7 days. And we think that the more significant thing to do at this point will be to reduce some of the overbearing taxes on the price build-up. When I talk of taxes, I'm specific. Taxes that were imposed when crude prices were below $30. In 2016, the then government felt, well, we had a revenue projection of our crude exports at $56, $54. Unfortunately, crude has tumbled or dropped to about $30 at the.
While away from fuel, the National Cybersecurity Authority has begun the move to develop standards to certify experts and practitioners as part of the Cybersecurity Act 2020 passed by Parliament. Speaking after a forum on the new law, Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Esther Usekufo, disclosed that this is a critical move to ensure that the industry has no charlatans.
According to the Minister for Communication and Digitalization, Ursula Owusu-Ekuful, there is a lack of skilled jobs in the cybersecurity space which many can take advantage of, a situation she fears may be an opportunity for unscrupulous persons to take advantage. She, however, expects the development of standards and certification to address this challenge.
The public sector needs their services. The private sector also needs their services. And so it's an area that I'll urge our young people to focus on and consider. That and data analytics are two areas that I really want our young people to focus on in this technology space. There are other critical sectors. So all three areas, training institutions, industry players, policymakers, need to sit down and design the minimum standards. And it is the Cybersecurity Authority which is supposed to license and accredit professionals in the sector using those minimum standards and other requirements that they've already established. And not just the professionals, but the service providers as well, so that we can weed out charlatans and those who are pretending to have skills that they really don't have.
Meanwhile, Acting Director General of the National Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Albert Entry-Boesiako, has emphasized the need for cybersecurity professionals to be trained and certified.
Cybersecurity regulations have the benefit of protecting our critical systems and our digital infrastructure. Provisions in the Act are to support systematic development of the cybersecurity subsector of the emerging digital economy. Cybersecurity regulations which Ghana has adopted through the passage of the Act is to protect you as practitioners and the industry as a whole.
There is a projected cost of $6 trillion to cybersecurity attacks by the end of the year.
Well, meanwhile, the Cybersecurity Authority will be engaging almost 200 companies in the country that have been designated as having critical information systems likely to be exposed to cyber attacks. The Minister for Communications and Digitalization, Ursula Owusu-Ekuful, has disclosed that these firms in the sectors of finance, mining and industry have been alerted to take steps to implement the preventive measures in the Cybersecurity Act that was passed in 2020. Speaking to Joy Business, Acting Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Albert Entry-Boesiako, disclosed that the authority will register and support these businesses to adhere to the directives.
Also certain gaps that we had within our criminal justice system, of which the Cybersecurity Act has basically addressed. But essentially, the Cybersecurity Authority, as part of the Cybersecurity Act, has come to provide that fundamental legal framework by which cybersecurity activities in this country can be conducted.
I heard the minister spoke about some 188 CIIs, which she has served directive to, or she has served letters to. Tell us what your engagement has been with them in aid to protect the critical infrastructure.
I think really the minister's action is grounded in law. Section 35, subsection 1, mandate the minister to designate sectors, but also critical information infrastructure owners and associated systems. So what has been done now is the designation of those systems. So subsequently, a notification has gone to close to 200 institutions across 13 sectors that the minister mentioned, and that forms the first legal process for the identification. Now, authority, which has been outdoor today, has a mandate to do the registration. In other words, what authority is going to do is engage with those designated critical information infrastructure owners, sit down with them, explain the rationale of the process, and register them. In other words, if you are a financial institution, there may be 2 or 3 critical systems that is run the banking infrastructure. Those systems are going to be registered, and following that, the authority will support with the implementation of the directive which the minister also launched.
Well, so usually when we talk about cyber attacks, the focus is on big companies, but small businesses are vulnerable. There's actually no target too small, but how can small businesses become resilient? Here are the thoughts of CEO of Global Secure Solutions, Adam Gleiman.
It's not a joke, Daryl. Cybersecurity solutions and products are very expensive. Even to man a cybersecurity department, just the salaries of the professionals is hard to even manage. Then compare that to adding tools and frameworks and policies and having audits and stuff like that. So what we have done as a cybersecurity service provider is come up with a service called Prometheus Shield, which is a managed cybersecurity service, which is actually geared towards these small companies so that we can provide these services to them at scale so that they don't need to really invest so much into their own protection, but we can actually provide that basis of managing their cybersecurity needs, providing that detection and response capability for them so that they can focus on the business and we can focus on the security of their organizations. We're also having a webinar on the 4th of November, and the topic is building business and cyber resilience in the new normal. So they would learn so much from this if they're able to register for that event.
I'd like to ask you this very last question, and that was our top story, in fact, this afternoon, having to do with about 200 firms identified as being at risk and designated as being at risk by the Communications Ministry. You heard the Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority talk about that. And this month we're highlighting cybersecurity. Just how challenging is this for us, do you think, and are we able to navigate?
It's a new place we are. I think we're definitely on the verge of a new era in terms of looking at the government and the industry stakeholders, the providers, law, the legal aspects of it. It's really monumental, and I think there's a lot of work that needs to be put in from everyone's perspective.
You're watching Business Live. Still to come, Ghana Beyond Aid magnified at the new Africa-France Summit at Montpellier.
Factor of pride for Ghana, because now all Africa is claiming they want to go beyond aid. And so Ghana has been a beacon in that respect as well.
Welcome back from our tour of international business news stories. We stay with international stories, at least from France. President Akufo-Addo's Ghana Beyond Aid was magnified in the just-ended New Africa-France Summit at Montpellier. Interactions from civil society and entrepreneurs from Africa with the French President Emmanuel Macron echoed President Akufo-Addo's resolve for world powers to move away from aid to trade. Speaking to Charles Aite at the site of the summit, the French ambassador to Ghana, Anne-Sophie Ave, touted Ghana Beyond Aid as a pace-setter.
It may not have as much sense for Ghana as it has for the Francophone Africa. I think we had to make peace with our history and tell the truth about the implications and this long-term relation and try to move forward together. So many subject issues have been addressed. It was a very blunt, bold and yet very friendly discussion that the President agreed to have with the youth of Africa. I agree, quite focused on Francophone Africa. But every subject has been dealt with. Every accusations that France is usually confronted with have been addressed, be it supporting dictatorship. The President has addressed that very directly. Be it the history and our colonial past and also our post-colonial past and a few years after decolonization. This has also been addressed, but it was a moment when the President eventually has made it very clear after the Ouagadougou speech that we want to cooperate with Africa very differently. We want to partner with Africa. It is true that development aid is no longer the way to go, because now Africa has wealth, youth being the #1 wealth of Africa. And it might be also a factor of pride for Ghana, because now all Africa is claiming they want to go beyond aid. And so Ghana has been a beacon in that respect as well. And I think that it hasn't been said, but I'm happy to say it, that what we are doing in Ghana and the way that France cooperates in Ghana, this very people-to-people diplomacy, this working with civil society, as well as working with a government that has been democratically elected, where you've had changes of government peacefully. It's a win-win situation, but we, as France, have our part to take, but Africa has its part to take as well. We are not going to install democracy in Africa. The youth is going to pressure to have a say and to be able to have fair, transparent elections, and then to have good governance. That's what Africa aspires for, and we will partner with the civil society as well as with the government and with ECOWAS, because when it comes to West Africa, ECOWAS has a huge, very important role to play, and that's what we're supporting. But I'm very proud when I listen to all that, even the conclusions that we have reached, that eventually, probably the way we cooperate with Ghana can be a model.
Now, the Parliamentary Select Committee on Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs is happy about the outcome of intervention offered farmers under the Savannah Zone Agricultural Productivity Improvement Project and the Savannah Investment Program to increase production of some crops. The team toured the 1,000-hectare Kujo Abimash farms in Zanzi in the Mion district and a 40,000-bed poultry farm at Balai in the Tema metropolis. Martina Bugri has more.
Members of the committee visited two farms owned by Kojo Abimash Farms under the SAPI project, who received support to increase production in soya beans and maize. The SAPI project is one of government's intervention introduced in 2018 to support farmers in the Northern Ecological Zone with technical and farm input service. Speaking to the media, chairman of the Parliamentary Select Committee, John Osei Frimpong, commended SAPI for a well-implemented project aimed at increasing production. He called for the resourcing of the buffer stocks to be able to buy directly from farmers to resolve the issues of influx of foreigners for Ghana's maize.
This is a peculiar situation that we find ourselves in. We first have to take advantage of it. If the buffer stock is resourced to buy directly from the farmers and store, I don't think the foreigners can invade when we are ready to buy. But the farmers, when they produce this number of bags and they are lying down without money to buy for buffer stocks and all other interventions that we will be putting in place, I think the farmer will willingly sell to. So, considering the policy situation that will curtail the influx of foreigners buying directly from the farmers, and then looking at resourcing the local institutions to buy from the farmers to store for use during the lean season. I think when these two are put together and supported very well.
The deputy ranking member for the committee, Dr. Saidi Jassal, praised Kojo Abimash Farms for not only farming in large quantities but also supporting over 600 other farmers.
And we are so impressed. We can see maize and soya bean crops. And the model he's using is that he's a commercial agriculturist, he's a commercial farmer, and he's getting support, input support from the government. So after all, it's not bad to have input support as a commercial farmer. That said, I think that this project is one intervention. I can see that it is building on the model of the Northern Rural Growth Program. And this has twin components. One of it is the support for farmers, anchor farmers like this. Apart from this field, he's also giving input support to be able to support smallholder farmers across, so providing agricultural relief to older families around this area. And he tells us that he supported about 260,000 farmers. So that is huge and impressive. Now they also have an infrastructure component. As you can see, they have been able to support the construction of a road here. And that's the same that Northern Rural Growth Project was on. They did farm trucks and supported projects such as this. Obviously, the objective is to make sure that farm produce can be easily carted from production centers to marketing centers.
The National Project Coordinator of SAPI, Felix Daramani, said what the project did was to build sustainable systems as laydown structures for the future.
Thank you. I think what we are currently doing, we are building sustainable systems that will continue with what we have started. Of course, there will be the need for future projects that will tackle other areas. But we've already established the Farmer Association that we want eventually to be a coordinating company that will play the role of what SAPEP is currently doing, so that they will be responsible for acquiring their own inputs, they will be responsible for marketing their own inputs and other things. And I think if we are able to do that, that is more sustainable than all the time supporting farmers on what they do. These are some of the sustainable structures that we have put in place.
And that's Business Live. Thanks for watching. My name is Darryl Kwao. Goodbye.